Ladies and gentlemen, right now people are stuck. They're stuck because they're lacking some energy, some motivation. They're trying to figure out if they're Stella, how do they get their groove back and the move that they need to take in order to get the energy and the momentum to propel their business. Personally, I've been in a rut the last 8 or 9 months. I just have not felt like myself. And so I want to bring all this insight to you today on how you yourself can get unstuck and or how do you get your team unstuck. Motivation is like the wind. It comes and it goes. They also say that motivation is like showering. You need to do it daily. And I want to give you some insights on how to get unstuck. So if you're in the real estate space, that's the language that I use. But even if you're not in the real estate space, I think you're going to find some really good ahas and takeaways. Gang, my name is Erik Hatch with Hatch Coaching and Hatch Brokered by Real. I have been a real estate professional for 16 or 17 years now. The word professional is always a bizarre thing to say because I don't feel very professional some days. But my team and I have sold nearly 7,000 houses just over the last decade. And we've experienced some high highs and some low lows along the process. Now, understand this. I'm not here to sell you anything. That is not my desire, is to sell you anything. I'm not trying to stick you with something. I'm here to give back, but I do have 3 options for people that want to lean in. Sometimes we save this for the end of the conversation, but I want to give it to you here at the beginning. Is we have 3 options for people that want to lean in. The first is we have a plethora of products to make your world easier. If you go to hatchcoaching.com, you'll see that we have products that are classes that you can do, messaging and systems that you can add onto your CRM that puts your lead follow-up on an auto plan, and you literally will have business come to you where they knock on your door instead of you doing the knocking. We have a whole bunch of services that will help you to sell more houses. I know that's a desire for so many people. We also, so number 1 is the products that we have. Number 2 is we do coach the select few. And if you're listening to myself or one of my partners talk on these webinars and you're like, oh, man, I could really use some of that goodness in my world, reach out to us over at hatchcoaching.com, and we do coach the select few. But we also have number 3, and this is my favorite. It's our highest and most inclusive group. Imagine this is like a country club. It's super exclusive to get into. And the most inclusive thing once you're there is we have a mastermind that you can apply for. And if that is of interest to you, if you want to roll super deep with us, please reach out to us, Erik, E-R-I-K, at hatchcoaching.com. I'd love to give you an introduction into our world. My mastermind is the greatest, most fantastic thing that we do. And I'd love for the right folks to find their way into this network, because that is our greatest way to make an impact, is if we row that boat together quite a bit. With that introduction, I want to say this to you all. I personally, I've been stuck. I've been unmotivated. I've been struggling, and I want to tell you why. Okay. I've struggled to grind, and that's the topic of today. Is I can't seem to get myself or my agents to grind. And so I want to first identify the why for us all. I think that you can't not have cancer at work. If you're struggling personally, you're probably struggling professionally. If you're struggling professionally, you're probably struggling. That was a hard word for me to say. You're probably struggling personally. I think that they are mutually inclusive of one another, is these struggles that you have. I wrote a book in 2019 called Play for the Person Next to You. Look at how gorgeous I am, by the way. Hubba, hubba. Sorry, ladies, I'm married. That's why I hold up my ring finger there. What a looker that guy is. But I have a book. I have a chapter in this book called You Can't Not Have Cancer at Work. And those hard things are going to follow you. You also can't not have cancer at home, because if you're struggling, it's going to find you. And personally, my marriage, my kids, my health are in a pretty good place right now. But professionally, for the last 9 months or so, I mean, the real estate industry has struggled. And I lost a bunch of team members, and I had to make some layoffs. And as of tomorrow, I sell my building. And I had a huge building for so many people. And now we have people working remote, and I have not as many people on my team as I once did. And so like having a giant office space just doesn't make sense. And all these things start creating a narrative for me. And that's the first thing I want you to write down is, what's my narrative? Because if the narrative is a losing story, I think it's going to be near impossible to overcome. I'm launching a podcast here in the next few weeks. It's called Redefine. In fact, Hatch Coaching is redefining how people treat people, and the RE is the real estate portion, right? So it's redefining, and we're using this precipice of the backdrop in which to do the podcast. Is I want people to tell me their biggest struggles, the hardest times that they've gone through, and how they overcame that, and the lessons that they learned from it. It is a hero story with the backdrop of not a hero's journey. Because I think most people think that the hero's journey is an easy one. The narrative is, well, I woke up with a bunch of money and everything went according to plan, and I still have a bunch of money and then even more on top of that. I think for most of us, we get caught and stuck in the narrative of not seeing what that next chapter is going to be like. And so I want to ask you, what is your narrative right now? Is your narrative negative self-talk? Is your narrative feeling like you're dealing with cancer personally or professionally? Because if that's your narrative, I want you to look back. I want you to get that rear view mirror, and I want you to see when in life did you get kicked when you were down and you stayed down? I mean, maybe you're still in tragedy. Maybe you're still dealing with tough stuff, but we have 100% success rate of getting ourselves unstuck and getting ourselves to a better place. At least that's been my narrative. And so if you are in this place right now, or your agents or team members are in a place, what is so important is that we do something about our perspective and the narrative that we're telling ourselves. There's a book I highly recommend. Please write this down. It's a book called The Gap and the Gain. The gap is how most of us look at our lives. And I'm not talking about the amazing retail store that I worked at in 1998. Sold a lot of carpenter jeans and polar fleece sweatshirts, gang. Those were the days of style. I'm not talking about that gap. The gap that I'm talking about in The Gap and the Gain is looking back with a perspective to say, I have, the gap is looking forward, saying, I have so much ground that I still need to cover. I'm nowhere near my goal. If I'm trying to make X amount of money, if I'm trying to change my life in this kind of direction, we see that gap that's there. And that's how most of us measure our lives, is in that gap. But the value is actually seeing the gain. The perspective that we need to maintain if we're feeling stuck is the perspective of the gain, that we started here and now we're here. Maybe we want to get all the way to here, of course, but if we're trying to get through that chasm, we have to first see the progression that we've had. We have to see the accomplishments and the overcoming, the 100% success rate of getting through the tough stuff. Because for the last 9 months professionally, I've been in a place where I felt the weight of the tough stuff, that I haven't maintain the size of team, and I haven't made the money, and I haven't sold as many houses, and I've had to shrink my team and let go of expenses and all these other things. All of these things to be said, the narrative of how we view things is going to determine the success that we're about to experience. And so if you are in the grind right now, we have to take a look at how you're feeding yourself. And I'm going to share with you in just a moment, I'm going to share with you some perspective from a guy who I have really started to follow and admire. His name is Brendon Burchard. I joined a company and organization called Place, led by Ben Kinney and Chris Stewart and Chris Suarez. I joined a company named Place just a couple of months ago. It's like a team for real estate teams. And one of the partners in there is a guy named Brendon Burchard, who's a New York Times bestselling author and an unbelievable leadership coach, and works for Oprah and does all these awesome things. And I get Brendon in my world on the regular basis now, because who you're following and the tribe you're with matters a lot. The language that you're hearing and the conversations that go through your mind. If you're stuck, if you're in a tough place, if you aren't grinding, it's oftentimes because of your environment. There's something called the scenes of the sublime. I want you to write down the scenes of the sublime, because that's so important after your narrative. The scenes of the sublime work like this: is imagine you are an incarcerated person. You're somebody coming out of prison or jail. And when you get out, you immediately go and hang out with the same people that were making destructive decisions that led you to getting incarcerated in the first place. Now, we understand that when somebody comes out of prison, they need to change their habits, and so they need to change their surroundings, from the living quarters that they have to the energy of who they're spending their time and relationship developing with. And for many of us, the scenes of the sublime play true in our lives. Your office space, your rhythms, your habits, the things that you're surrounding with right now are really, really difficult. And so I say all this because my office space for the last 9 months has unintentionally felt like a funeral. It feels bad and weird to even say that, but we had a team of 55 that shrunk down to a team of about 40. We lost 15 high producers and we had to let some admin go. We've added some people back on and that sort, but we lost 15 people. And now post-COVID, not many people come into the office, and people are down on their luck because the real estate market isn't as fruitful as they once wanted to be. And so stepping foot into our office right now is like an incarcerated person coming out of prison and stepping foot back into that destructive environment. That environment doesn't breed excitement and energy. That environment doesn't breed new habits. That environment, in fact, exemplifies old habits. And it's really a dangerous place to step foot into. And so I literally sold my building and we move into a new space tomorrow because of the scenes of the sublime. And Brendon Burchard for me has been stepping foot into getting new perspective, new narratives, new leadership, new energy that I'm trying to put my mind and my team's mind into a place to understand that we are in a different season. If you're trying to get your team and you're trying to get yourself to grind, perhaps your environment is not supportive of it. First, it's your narrative, and then it's your environment. If those two things aren't giving you the next oomph, like if you're trying to lose weight and everybody you go to lunch with every day orders pizza and you're trying to eat salad, how long can you eat salad until you're tempted by that pepperoni goodness? It's a really difficult challenge to change your habits in an environment that enforces bad, destructive habits. So Brendon Burchard, as I'm stepping foot into his environment and into the place environment, I'm now getting exposed to new perspective and new thinking. And so I was on a call yesterday, and this is what Brendon shared with us. Here again is the topic. Brendon challenged us. By the way, I'm going to put this at the end here too. This is a quick commercial break for me to give you something for free. If you're not doing so already, please consider following me on Instagram, Real Erik Hatch. I put out content multiple times a day, coaching things, funny things, insightful things. There's nothing to sell here. I just want to give you a free copy of my book. So direct message me in Instagram after you follow me, DM me one word blueprint. Don't add anything else because then the AI gets super confused and it doesn't know what to do. Just DM me one word blueprint and we'll give you a link to get a free copy of our book that Robbie T and I wrote. All you have to do is pay shipping and handling, and it's a great way for you to get exposed to our world. So this book is literally changing the lives of hundreds and thousands of realtors when they follow the plan. So with that being said, Brendon Burchard said this. He said, "Have you taken your meds?" I'm like, oh boy, here we go. We're going to be on one of these, like one of these kicks in which I have to take medication. And that's not what he's talking about. He first talks about meditation. Meditation is really interesting. And I encourage you to write down this acronym of MEDS. Okay. Meditation for some people feels uncomfortable. Being quiet and being still is really difficult. But let me put it in another regard is, do you do what I have done for far too many days and months and weeks and years of my life? And that is you play Russian roulette with your emotions as soon as you wake up. What I mean by that is you pick up your phone once you wake up and you start checking to see what the world has said or done to you and about itself. If you're checking social media and your email as the first thing you do to start your day, it's a really, really difficult challenge. Hugely difficult because you are playing Russian roulette with your emotions. You're playing Russian roulette with your time. You're playing Russian roulette with your thoughts. And what do they say? It's like your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits, and your habits become your destiny. So your thoughts are the most powerful thing that you have. Remember, we said, what's your narrative? And if your thoughts are a negative narrative, how in the world are you going to get unstuck? That's why we look at the gap and the gain, and we see the gain that we've done so we can maintain the perspective of where we're going, that we will overcome. A victor mindset always wins. A victim mindset always loses. So now our meditation of how we start our day, of believing that goodness is in front of us, believing that we're going to have more opportunities than pain. I was at a workout last night. By the way, it's a humble brag. Humble brag number one. I was at a workout last night, and they always start with an intention. And the intention on that was powerful. My friend Danielle, who leads the class, said something along the lines of, there's something good that happens every day, but not every day will be good. And I thought, oh, that's a really true statement, is not every day will be good, but there's something good that happens every day. So it's that perspective. It's that mindset of what do you see? And so Brendon Burchard says we have to take our meds. We have to take our medication. We have to lean in and understand that our thoughts are the most powerful thing. And meditation gets us in that perspective. So the first thing that we do every day is we start with positive thoughts. From there, the E for meds is exercise. Are we getting our body moving and flowing? I think just 15 or so minutes of movement is going to change the energy that you bring to the day. Some people rely on coffee to wake them up and caffeine to wake them up. I think a cold shower and 15 minutes of cardio or stretching or lifting or yoga, whatever you're going to do, it's going to set you off on a much better tone. Now, the third is diet, what you put into your body. It is the fuel for everything. And I'm somebody that has battled my health my entire life. But if you need a better mindset, I got to tell you, what you feed your mouth is the same as what you feed your mind. What you feed your mouth is the same thing that you feed your mind. And so garbage in, garbage out. Be very, very cautious about what you're taking and what you're doing there. Now, the final part of the meds is sleep. And this is something that we as entrepreneurs and business people don't pay much attention to, but my gosh, is this a catalyst for everything? Are we going to bed intentional on getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep? I remember hearing a guy who I looked up to a lot. My background is in ministry, and he was our church council president when I worked at the church. His name is Rich. He's since passed away. I'm really sad to see him lose his life. But in that, Rich, I remember him saying like, I haven't taken a weekend off, or I haven't taken a day off in like 8 years. And he said that like as a braggadocious thing. I think the real flex is like, hey, I took a month off last month. I took off every day and I sleep 8 hours a day. Like that for me is the real flex. And so if we're stuck, if we're struggling with our grind, we have to look at first, have we taken our meds? Have we tended to hear and hear before we tend to our habits on the daily? So how we start our day personally matters, but I want to transition to how we start our day professionally. I think that has a really big play in it. And so I think that most of us, we have to take a look at if we want to hit our goals. And please write this down because this is so important. This is nothing mind-blowing and earth-shattering, but it is something that I think is transformational. I think it is something that is powerful. And it's not to win the day. Some of us hear that we have to win the day. Some of us set goals, and we're setting goals for this is what I want in a 12-month period. But do we know what that goal actually translates to into a daily habit? And I used to say daily habit and felt confident with it, but most people can't do a full day. So let's take it from a daily habit to a morning habit. Like if we want to change everything, we got to take smaller bites. If I want to reach my goal for the year, I can't bite that entire goal with one bite. I have to look at my daily habits. And that still is overwhelming for too many people. So I have to look at my morning habits. If I can win the morning, I can win the day, I can win the week, I can win the month, and I can win the year. But it's let's look at a 2.5 hour time block. That's all I'm asking for. If that for some people, if you're listening right now, is like, I can't do 2.5 hours. I can't grind for 2.5 hours. I can't commit to this job for 2.5 hours. I'm not judging you, but I'm saying if you can't do 2.5, do 1.5. If you can't do 1.5, do 45 minutes. But start with something that you can win. Start with the morning that you can win consistently, because the only way you're going to reach your goals on an annual basis is if you can win the morning. And if you can't win 2.5 hours, which is the prescription I have for you here, you need to win 45 minutes or 30 minutes. You have to figure out and build that momentum. Remember, progression is the key to so many things. So what are you going to do tomorrow morning to drive revenue? If you win the morning, you'll win the day. And here's my perfect daily schedule that I recommend, that I teach, and that I strive for all agents to live by. 8:30 to 9:15 is role playing and training. Now, this that you're watching right now, maybe this is some training for you. Maybe this is some development. And so can you move the schedule around? Sure. However, I think most of us lack the discipline to do it consistently. And so can you put on your schedule 3, 4, or 5 days a week that you're going to role play and train? Our industry in real estate is more difficult now than it ever has been. And if it's more difficult now than it ever has been, it means that we have to show up with more fervor. We have to show up with more fire, and we have to get trained. Blows me away. Absolutely blows me away that some of the best performing realtors and agents in our industry don't practice and train. I think that their reign at the top is going to be short-lived. I think those that actually train and practice every day are the ones that are going to succeed. Let's take one of my favorite basketball stars, Steph Curry. Do you think Steph Curry just goes to practice, or do you think he does more and more and more? If you haven't watched on Netflix, they have a new series called Quarterback, and it highlights the last season, the 2022 football season, for Pat Mahomes, for Kirk Cousins, and for somebody type it in. I'm forgetting the name of it. Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota, 3 quarterbacks who are all experiencing different levels of success. And it showed Pat Mahomes and what he's doing to dedicate himself to win a Super Bowl. He's won 2 of the last 4 Super Bowls, I believe, and he's been MVP 2 seasons and 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I mean, just done some amazing things with his career. And it shows him practicing with his team and learning all the plays. And then it shows him going to another trainer 3 days a week, working on his body and working on everything. Because if he wants to be exceptional, he can't do the average. Let me say that again, because that's powerful. If you want to be exceptional, you can't do the average. And I don't think the average realtor is training and role playing every day. In fact, I know they're not. Do I think the average realtor is lead generating every day? I don't think they are. Is the average realtor lead following up with their leads every single day? I don't think so. I say all this because I want to challenge you to simply win the morning. It is not a complicated thing to do. It is a consistently boring thing to do. And boring things will get you unstuck. If you don't have the energy to do 2.5 hours, if you are so avoidant of the grind and you can't do 2.5 hours, again, cut it in half. If that doesn't work, cut it in half again. Simplify it until you can get the momentum with it. Number 2, and there's only 4 things that we're going through. Number 2 is become a master of lead generation. If you want to win, if you want to get unstuck, if you want to grind, this is a hunting season. COVID and the pandemic was a gathering season. The fish jumped in the boat. Our game and our gig was substantially easier through COVID. People knocked on our door, but Walter White in Breaking Bad says, I'm the one that knocks, and you need to be the one that knocks. You need to be the one that is the aggressor, not in being a hard car salesman, sleazy type of person. You instead need to be the person that leads with value and contribution, and that you're consistently pouring into others so that you're helping to change their stars. And so we have a rhythm and a cadence for that, and I want to share that with you now. The first is the 225-250 plan. The 225-250 plan is a plan that we give our ISAs. Our ISAs are inside sales agents. Their commitment every day is to set 2 appointments every day. If they can't set 2 appointments, we need to see that they had at least 25 quality conversations with people. Now, if they can't set 2 appointments and if they can't have 25 quality conversations, I need to make sure that they can do at least 250 attempts to make connection with people. So I'm always measuring and creating a scoreboard of seeing, are we progressing? Are we winning? Are we moving? And our ISAs do that on the daily. Now, they're working with large databases and they're working with a whole lot of people where the average agent doesn't necessarily have that kind of reach. And so instead of the average agent needing to do that every day, I think that's your commitment for the week. You need to have an understanding that every week you're going to set 2 appointments. If you can't set 2 appointments, you need to have at least 25 quality conversations with people. These are new conversations. These aren't conversations with people that you're already working with. These are new conversations. These are new appointments. And if you can't do at least 25 conversations, you have to show that you're attempting to talk to at least 250 people within databases, door knocking, cold calling, being involved with things like the chamber and Kiwanis clubs and that sort. Like, you have to literally have a plan. Most of us right now are looking at our lives and we're saying, I want big results, but you're not actually following a plan. Do you realize how asinine that is? You want great success, but there's no plan to get there. That's like me saying, I want to be a professional bodybuilder, but I'm instead going to occasionally go to the gym and I'm going to occasionally lift weights. Like, occasionally gets you terrible results. Following a plan will get you the results over time. So option number 1 is the 225-250 plan. And I highly recommend each of you adopt that. Now, the second is the RWOD, the Realtor Workout of the Day. And by the way, if you just want to go to hatchcoaching.com, you can find the RWOD, the Realtor Workout of the Day. That's on there. That is downloadable. If you don't want to scan that QR code, maybe you're watching on your phone, so you can't scan it. With that being said, the RWOD is stolen from CrossFit. CrossFit, when you show up, does a WOD, a workout of the day, and it tells you what to do. It tells you how long to do it. It tells you how many reps to do it for. And magically, you follow somebody else's plan and you get in shape. Now, at CrossFit, you get back problems too, but nonetheless, with a workout of the day for realtors, the Realtor Workout of the Day, the RWOD, is a plan for you to follow every single day. If you don't have confidence in your plan, allow me to bequeath my plan to you. Yes, I said bequeath. Mark it down. Halfway through the webinar, I said bequeath. Okay. So first you start with who. There's 3 parts to the Realtor Workout of the Day. You first start with the who. And most people say, well, I don't know who to contact. Well, take a look. I literally have every kind of person you can contact. I'm sure there's even more you can add on here, but there are so many folks that you can contact, so many different groups of people. And I don't recommend you going down funnel leads one day and expireds, or funnel leads, expireds, and a farm and social media and coffee shops all in one day. Like, on one day, you should be working primarily with business owners. That's all you're contacting. So you get into rhythm and cadence of paralleling similar conversations. So you start with a who, just like at CrossFit, you would start with what exercise. And that's the what that's next is, what are you going to use as your means of communication? Most of us think that it's just phone, text, and email. That's why we put that as the first 3. But realistically, look at how many different ways there are to connect with people. There's so many different ways to reach out, and most of us are barely doing any of these. So first start with the who and then the what, but here's my favorite, is the why. Why are you contacting them? Gratitude is my favorite. You just be front of mind for people. You don't even have to bring up that you're a realtor. Like, bring value to people consistently. Inquire, applaud, celebrate. But when you do this with a regular cadence, you're going to experience massive results. If people are stuck right now, if they're unmotivated, they probably would benefit from having a plan to follow. And you need a plan to follow, and your team members, if you have them, need plans to follow. And so if you don't have that plan, there's the plan. You have the RWOD, the Realtor Workout of the Day. Okay, gang, we're more than halfway through. So those of you watching live, if you have questions, comments, feedback, I want you to put it in the chat box here, but I'm going to keep on keeping on. Okay. I want to transition to number 3. And number 3 is that you know where to get business from. Most of us, again, we don't have a plan. We don't know where to get business from. And I want to give you the gift of where to get business from. This comes, this is a graphic taken out of the Perfect Real Estate Agent Blueprint, the book that we're giving all of you. Again, just follow me on Instagram at Real Erik Hatch and send me the direct message with one word, blueprint, and we'll give you instructions on how to get this book for free. You just pay for shipping and handling. There are all these different ways in which to impact people. There's the soft side and there's the strong side. The soft side is advertising and direct mail and email. I want to tell you, so many people think, and I saw this happen. A little side note. I saw somebody who I like a lot in this industry. I saw them release their newest Facebook business page. And I know the narrative that they have. They created their Facebook business page and they're like, everybody knows I have a business now. And so business is going to come my way. I remember when I got into this industry in 2006, I paid $150 for a color image of myself in a magazine, a local Fargo, North Dakota real estate magazine. It was a 1.5 by 2.5 inch JPEG. And it was a picture of me. And it says, for all your real estate needs, contact Erik Hatch. And I literally put my hands behind my head and I'm like, ooh, the phone's going to start ringing now. Oh, yeah. The same thought that the person probably had when they created their Facebook business page. I don't care how many business pages you have or ads you have or anything else. It is an ineffective means to make people act. There is so much noise out there. There's so much advertising and emails and billboards and all these things. And we think that that's going to get us unstuck. The only thing that gets us unstuck, as far as I'm concerned, are these final 4: handwritten notes, phone calls, events and classes, and one-on-one conversations. Everything we do for these first 6, advertising, direct mail, email, social media posts, engagements with other social media, and texting, all of that leads to actual ability to convert. And I'm not telling you not to advertise. I'm telling you not to have a Facebook business page. In my opinion, it's an absolute waste of time. I think your Facebook business page sells. And people don't want to be sold. They want to be connected with. So unless you're telling magnificent stories, unless you're highlighting and showcasing and shining a light on other people, your Facebook business page and any business page that you have is a self-serving entity and nobody cares. Don't believe me? Go take a look. Take a look at my Hatch Realty business page. And as much as I hate to say it, when we celebrate other people, we get likes and comments. But when we talk about our open houses and our listings, it is just a self-serving entity, and it is not worth the effort. Our job is to make people feel seen, heard, valued, and cared for. And the best way to make people feel seen, heard, valued, and cared for are handwritten notes, phone calls, events and classes, and one-on-ones. So you also have to understand where you're going to find your clients, okay? Where you're going to find your clients matters mightily. If for right now, you and or your agents need a win, this is the screen. These are the points that you need to take massive look and attention to. PCSOI is past client and sphere of influence. This is the greatest chance to convert something to somebody who already knows, likes, and trusts you. It is part of, it is the only thing that can stand on its own. It's the only thing. Relationships win. This is a relationship game, no matter how you spin it and do it. Your biggest competitor is not the best real estate company in town. Your biggest competitor is that onesie twosie mom and pop realtor who has the relationship, but they don't have the skill. And so that's who you're battling against. So your job is to win the relationship. And PCSOI, past client sphere of influence, will give you your greatest chance to turn somebody into a client. Now, it's not to hard sell this person. It's not to go in and to try to shove something on them, but instead lead with giving value, lead with bringing contribution. Don't sell them anything. Just be a valued resource for them and a cheerleader for their life. It is the greatest way to get you unstuck right now, is to go and to try to win with your PCSOI. Now, the next piece is low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit is a very expensive means to get business, but it will get you business sooner than later. Zillow, Realtor.com, agent referrals, Dave Ramsey, HomeLight, Ojo, all these things are expensive mediums that get you a quick win. I got to say this, okay? An expensive medium is the most irresponsible way to build your business. I had a guy that I used to coach, and had a team that sold about 400 homes a year, an unbelievable size of a team. And 85% of their business came from Zillow. That business is worth $0 as far as I'm concerned. A business, whether you're a solo agent or if you're on a big team, a business that relies on expensive mediums that somebody else controls is not going to stand the test of time. What it can do is it can get you unstuck short term. What it can do is create somebody that will tomorrow be PCSOI, but today is low-hanging fruit. So there's opportunity with it. And I'm not saying not to choose to go down that avenue, but it cannot be the only avenue that you bet on. Long-term nurtures is number 3. And these long-term nurtures, I'm talking about forced registration, pay-per-click, Facebook things. I'm talking about neighborhood farms, things that take a long time to win on. These are important to have, but far too many people hold their breath and bet on only that. Because you can buy a pay-per-click lead for 10 to 15 bucks. But the conversion rate on that on average takes 630 days. Now, we've created Hatch messaging and Hatch systems that puts a lot of that on autopilot. So you will literally get notified when that person is interested, and the AI does the majority of the work for it. So huge wins for you there. However, if you're trying to get motivated and unstuck right now, that is a near impossible one to bet on because it is such a long-term play. I had a gal that I was coaching last week, and she told me, I said, well, how's your business? She's like, I have no pendings and no active clients right now outside of a couple of people. I'm like, oh, shoot, you were in trouble. I said, what are you doing for your habits right now? She said she's focusing on this reputation game. And that reputation game for her is, she says she's going to create one YouTube video a week. And YouTube and social media, that's a reputation game where people feel like they know you, that they're in relationship with you. By the way, reviews as well, Google reviews, Facebook reviews, Zillow reviews, those also play into this reputation bucket. I think open houses can play into this reputation bucket, and there's strategy to it, that you are creating an energy around you, that people know and understand who you are and what you do. And you don't know who they are on the other side of it. You wait for them to come knocking. The reputation game takes a long time to harvest. I think that you have to be consistent with it over time to create your wins. And the mistake that most people make is they're going to just concentrate on low-hanging fruit, or they're just going to concentrate on PCSOI, and they're not putting their energy into all 4 of these buckets. A harmonious game plan to get you unstuck and to get you motivated and to get you to grind once again is to play all 4 of those. But your easiest wins, I have to tell you, are going to come from PCSOI and low-hanging fruit. And so if that's the drug, if that's the quick fix that you need, if that's the morphine to make the pain go away, let that be your contribution. But do not waste all of your time planting seeds that'll take a long time to harvest. Now, I didn't say not to plant those seeds. I simply said, don't waste all your time doing that. That long-term nurture and that reputation game, those are important seeds to always be planting. But that should be in addition to and not in place of your regular lead generation. Please nod if that makes sense. I can't see you right now, so I'm just assuming everybody's nodding. Okay. We're going to number 4 here. Okay. Number 4 is to find your community. This for me is a replay on the scenes of the sublime. Right now, there's a good chance that your environment isn't giving you the right kind of energy and focus and excitement in which for you to be your best self. You're busy trying to eat salad and you're surrounded by a bunch of pizza eaters. And so your community and who you spend time with matters a lot. Gary Keller says that no one succeeds alone. And I can't help but think that that is such a true statement. I used to work at Keller Williams and have mad respect for it. This is not a game that you're meant to stand alone. And some of you right now are trying to get healthy standing alone. It's literally why things like Alcoholics Anonymous exist. So you have a place and a community that you can lean into. It's why we have our mastermind with our coaching company. It's why we do coaching, is so that people don't stand alone. And some of you right now are trying to solve your problems working alone. And it's an irresponsible way to find your success. No one succeeds alone. Absolutely no one. And so if you're needing the right tribe, if you're needing a change of the scenes of the sublime, here are some opportunities. The first is your brokerage and or your team. I was independent for a long time, and I recognized I was trying to succeed alone. And so I joined Real Brokerage as a chance to grow and join together. Obviously, I run a team. I believe wholeheartedly that teams are not only the future of real estate, but it is the today of real estate. And our team, personally, right now, our team needs an injection of a change of environment. The scenes of the sublime is literally changing as we speak. New habits, new environment is all being adopted and adapted. I shared a similar concept in Texas a couple of months ago. And a gal came up to me afterwards. And she's like, Erik, you really impacted me. I'm like, oh, what did I say? What did I do? I'm like patting myself on the back, like, way to go, Erik. She's like, I realized my team isn't the right place for me. And so I'm going to go talk to my team leader tomorrow and I'm going to leave my team. I'm like, oh my gosh, no. I can't have that blood on my hands. And so I shared with her that there needs to be a no surprises rule. And this is one of the things that is foundational in my world, is that it's a no surprises rule. We can't ever surprise our teammates, nor should our teammates ever surprise us. If you're feeling like something doesn't fit, and if you're feeling like there's not a great rhythm, go and have an intentional conversation and identify the things that don't feel great. Hey, this feels out of misalignment. I'm struggling with this. Can we work together to try to improve on this? We're partners after all. You're partners with your brokerage. You're partners with your team. And so you should go and have those conversations. Now, after ample time to try to exhaust those growth pieces, if you can't find your way, by all means, change teams or change brokerages. No shame in that game. Now, the second piece is your coach. I'm not telling you that you need a real estate coach, but I am telling you that you will be best off working with people that are sage advisors that are helping you to see what you can't see. I'll say this. I'm a pretty confident person when it comes to business. And I'm also a complete and total idiot when it comes to business. Do you really think that I have all the answers? I sometimes tell myself that narrative that I have all the answers. And it is a foolish proposition to think that I know it all, that I see it all. And it's a foolish proposition for you to think that you know it all and see it all. A coach should save you tens of thousands of dollars quickly, and a coach should be able to point you in the right direction. But you got to do the work. The coach doesn't do the work for you, but they help you see what you can't see. And so my guess is you and I both have some blind spots. The coaches have blind spots, of course, but getting fresh eyes and a fresh perspective can really propel you forward. Third is your vendors. These vendor partnerships are massively important. Who's your mortgage lender? Who's your title partner? Who's your inspector? Are these people that you're growing with and masterminding with and figuring out how can you work to achieve the same common goals together? Or are you just two ships passing in the night? I love getting super deep in with the vendor partnerships. There are some big wins. And by the way, Those of you running substantial businesses and or those of you running teams, there's financial benefits to these relationships also, because they will invest in success because your success is their success. Number 4 is your spouse. Woo! Trouble is a brewing because some people don't have great partnerships at home. I heard this statement back in March. My wife and I were on a couples trip with 13 other couples. It was entrepreneurs like me and our spouses. Some were entrepreneurs, some were stay at home, some were gainfully employed, but nonetheless, all the entrepreneurs were weirdos like me. And there's a couple that led a couples mastermind, and they did a day of facilitation for us, and it was really powerful. And they said one statement that just forever rings true with me. They said, marriage is the ultimate mastermind. And I'm like, ooh, that's really good. In fact, so much so that my wife and I are going to be starting a couples mastermind here, because we believe wholeheartedly that when things are great at home, they can be great everywhere else. And I got to tell you, if you're trying to get better professionally, but you are not great personally, you are not great with your spouse, you need to pay more attention to your spouse than you do your profession. You need to build the foundation the right way. And the foundation is not your business. The foundation is your marriage when you have that. So if you can get the right rhythm with your marriage, you're going to have an unbelievable business. If you don't have a great marriage, if you don't have a great spouse relationship, and by the way, you're like 70% of the problem. If you're going to tell me and respond in your head right now, like, well, my spouse isn't right for X, Y, and Z reasons, it means you're not right for them right now either. And the only thing you can fix is you. Write that down. The only thing I can fix is me. It is such an important aha that you take away, is that is the only thing that you can fix. And that if you want a better relationship, you got to be better in that relationship. You want a better business, you got to be better in your business. You cannot wish other people success. You can only work on your own. Ooh, I like that. You cannot wish other people success. You can only work on your own. Okay. Number 5, and we're almost through here, gang. Your friends. Your friends matter a lot. If you aren't surrounding yourself right now with people that are positive, uplifting, laugh until you cry, cry until you laugh kind of friends, if you don't have those kind of friends, you will not be able to achieve the full success that this life has waiting for you. I believe that God has something magnificent waiting for you, but if you are missing part of the recipe, it's never going to taste right. And a friendship foundation, as well as a marriage foundation or a spouse foundation, are parts of that recipe. Finally, number 6 is your sandbox, the people that you choose to spend time with, the people that you choose to mastermind and to grow with. The sandbox is my favorite thing, and I encourage all of you to lean in and to find a sandbox. We at Hatch Coaching have a pretty great one, so if we can be your sandbox, that's great. But if we cannot, if we're not the place for you, that's okay. Just go and find a group that's going to help you win. And the final call to action, as I led with, is also this. If you want a free copy of our book, follow me on Instagram and direct message me the one word of blueprint, and we will get you a copy of that book. You just need to pay shipping and handling. Gang, so many people right now are stuck, unfortunately so. They are struggling with grinding. They're struggling with self-doubt. They're struggling with all these things. And I think you need to work on you before you work on your business. And if you've done the work on you, now it's time to work on your business. And hopefully those 4 things I gave you will give you the propelling, catapulting steps in which to win the morning. If you can simply win the morning, you are going to win the day. If you're going to win the day, you'll win the week, then you win the month, then you win the year. And my gosh, will you be so much farther? Jen just messaged me and said that she's definitely stuck. And this is some great info. Now, here's the piece, Jen. Education without implementation is merely entertainment. And I am nowhere near entertaining enough for this to be good enough. Entertainment without education is merely, entertainment without implementation is merely, I'm just saying it wrong. Look at this. I said it right the first time. Here's the thing. You got to take action. Literally, you have to take action. You need to know what's 1 or 2 things that you're going to do to work on right now. Is it your relationship with your spouse? Is it your own personal health? Is it you're taking your meds? What is it that you're going to do right now? If your foundation is good, then let's work on your business. Do you need to do an RWAD? Do you need to do the 225, 250? Do you need to figure out who are you going to contact? And do you have to get super intentional on your database? Like, if you don't take action right now, this was very mediocre entertainment. So take some action. As soon as you're done watching this, literally circle the 1 or 2 things that you're going to do, schedule it, and honor it. That's the only way you're going to get unstuck. So we're here to help you. We have some things that we can do as a coaching company. Remember, I'm not here to sell you anything, but we do have resources that will help people to grow. The first is we have a whole bunch of products to help you with lead conversion, to help you with sales, to help you with building teams. You can find all that at hatchcoaching.com. Number 2 is we offer for the very few, we do offer some coaching. If that's for you, we have you covered there. Just reach out to us. And number 3, our most exclusive, intimate, best thing that we do is our mastermind. And if you want more information on that mastermind, we would love to open that up and show you what it could be to see if it's the right fit for you. So you can email me, Erik with a K at hatchcoaching.com. Hopefully we did some good today. I'll stay on and answer any questions that you have, but those of you who want to get out of here, get out of here. Have a beautiful day. Again, my name is Erik Hatch. God bless you. And I'll stay on and see if I can answer any questions. I'll even keep the record button going. Mike says, good reminders of the basics. I got to tell you, I had somebody message me afterwards and they said, yeah, this wasn't really worth my time. You didn't teach me anything I didn't already know. And at first I was offended. I'm like, how dare you? Like, I just poured myself into this for an hour and you said you didn't learn anything new. And I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be teaching new things. Like, do you honestly think that there's a new thing that you haven't heard that's going to get you unstuck? And that there's a new thing out there that's going to magically change your world? Or do you just need to do the basic crap better? And I'm left with this, like, I don't need to teach you new things. I need to remind you of why the basic things, why the standard things need to pay attention. We have an attendee asking, is the book available in digital format? Yeah, we have it in Audible. And so if you go to Audible, you'll be able to find our book there. You do have to pay for it there. And in digital format, you can get the Kindle version of the book as well, but we are not giving that away there. So Kyle asks, what is it about Place that drew me into partnership? It's a really good question, Kyle. So Place, again, is a team for teams ran by Ben Kinney. And this is, there's 2 points that I can share with you. The first is I was in a room with Ben Kinney in 2012 when I was a KW agent, and Ben is at KW as well. And we were 2 of the top 10 donors for KW Cares. And I was this new kid on the block. I had only been in real estate professionally as a full-time gig for like 18 months, but I started dedicating part of each commission check to KW Cares. And magically I was a top 10 donor out of 100,000 agents or so. And I'm like, oh man, this room, like, I shouldn't be in this room yet because I'm not a big player yet. We were a team doing a couple hundred transactions and I saw so many people doing more, but Ben was in that room. And I, of course, was following him for a bunch of things. And I'm like, this guy's 2 years ahead of me right now. And so I'm just going to keep doing what he's doing. He expanded to other markets. So I expanded to other markets, and he started some coaching. So I started some coaching, and I'm like, I'm going to just chase Ben and I'm going to get really far. And fast forward to today. And I grew my team to sell over 1,000 transactions in a year, right? That's huge. And I grew a big coaching business. And I'm like, man, I've gone really far. And now I'm with Ben, and Ben is 10 years ahead of me. Ben's not thinking in millions. He's thinking in billions. Ben has 270 place partners and counting. Ben is the most successful close friend that I have. And I recognize I could try to be Ben by not following, like by just watching at a distance, or I could try to get farther by aligning and partnering with Ben. And so I recognize that the key to my growth was a really strategic partnership, that I was going to be better together. And if I wanted to get where Ben is, probably joining up and partnering with him was making more sense than me trying to do it alone. The second piece is I was out in Bellingham in February, and I wasn't committed to place at all. And I'm visiting with Ben, and they're on a charity thing that I had bought just to spend some time with Ben, where myself and 5 other people went, and we got coached by him heartily for about a day and a half. Super valuable. And I said, Ben, tell me about place, like give me the place pitch. He's like, that's not why I have you here. I said, well, give me the place pitch. And he started sharing it with me. I'm like, oh, that'll help me get out of some of the boxes I'm currently in. But then I said, Ben, what's the number one reason why somebody wouldn't join place? And he said, well, because of ego. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. He said, well, we have a track record of everybody that joins with us. Eventually, once they follow the plans and do the hard work, they make more and they work less. But it's people's ego that keeps them from wanting to join this team. And I'm like, ooh, this caught me at the right time because my ego was pretty crushed from the transition that my business had experienced. And so it came at the right time for me. If any of you want to talk about place offline, just shoot me an email or find me on social, and I'd love to chat with you about it. But I'm not here to sell place. I'm just here to answer your question, Kyle, that's what drew me into that partnership. So I hope that covers the questions that people had. Final call, anything else? That's it, everybody. Have a beautiful day.